Looks like we got a working live stream. And I'm Moshe, and I'm coming to you from Israel in the Galilee. And today is what is today? Tuesday, the 6th of January. It's 8:03 in the morning. And I don't think it's that cold. I got the windows slightly open, so I like fresh air. We're at 55, which is not great. But, if you live in Alaska, it's pretty good. Probably go swimming or something. And, we don't have much of a temperature today on the high side. No, we do. I didn't read it right. 68. That's pretty warm. Tomorrow, 69, then 71. And then Friday, we get rain, they say. And then that's it. Then you got rain on Friday, then Saturday and Sunday. You got nice temperatures in the 60s, and then you get rain on Monday and Tuesday. But it's already changed since yesterday, so I see probably a little rain coming, but not a whole lot. That's my hunch, based on nothing. Okay. So what we're going to cover today is mostly on the news front, Trump and what he's doing and how oil is a dominant theme and what his spoken words are saying he has in store for Colombia, Cuba, Venezuela, Iran, Greenland. And it's a little shocking, and it's going to definitely get much of the world to rise up against him diplomatically initially, and then it'll get worse, I believe. So then I'm going to take you on a walk through YouTube and show you people that are very popular, survivalist, prepper, patriots, and I'm going to show you their fake news and how blatant it is and how widespread it is. And I'm not talking shorts. I'm talking these people got big followings and they sit there and just lie to the people. Okay? All right. It's not easy to see with the sun in your eyes. Okay, let me go take a look at our live stream. Well, the sun's right in my eyes. Okay. I gotta put a post up. Wow, I can hardly see anything. It's just straight in my eyes. Wow. Now I can't see the chat coming up. That's always fun. Why? Why is the chat not coming? YouTube is such a pain in the neck. It's not intuitive anymore. It's completely unintuitive. Let me go back and see if I can bring it up again. It's just incredibly hard to work with them. Now I got the chat. Oh, what a pain. I'm going to put a post up. It's going to be very fast. We got people coming in. That's good sign that everything's working. And it looks like everything is working. Now, let me go sure. Let me pin it. Yeah, it doesn't want to pin. Okay, pin. Now let me close it. And okay, got that. Being a Bible believing site, Old and New Testament, we'll do some praise. I think later today I'm going to translate some of the Bible, show you how to bring it into from Japanese and probably Korean. We'll bring it into English and see what it looks like, if they're underlying manuscripts or something or any different than Masoretic text and so forth. Okay. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. All right. So, it's getting hot. I'm running the heater here, but we'll keep it on a few more minutes. All right. Let me go into my notes and we'll get started here. We got a pretty interesting show on the current events here. It's rather interesting today, so I think you'll enjoy it. And we're going to do our spiritual warfare. Don't worry about that. And we're going to start, I think, with some prayer warfare. Okay. Now, why would we not just do spiritual warfare? Well, because that's not balanced. Okay. Did Yeshua pray? Yeah. Did the apostles pray? Yeah. Did they do spiritual warfare, Yeshua and the apostles? Yeah. So I don't want to throw us off balance and not pray. Okay, Netanyahu's a piece of garbage. You heard me talk about that. Now I see signs that the economy in Israel is picking up. So I sit there and I say to myself, what the heck is this mental midget doing now? And I said, it hits me right away. I said, oh, we got an election coming up. So I check. October 27th, 2026, we have a prime minister election, which means Netanyahu's running. Now, this is a lousy, stinking trick the American presidential candidate, well, the American presidents pull on the people of America. My whole lifetime, I've seen it. They wreck the economy so only the ultra-rich gain. And then when it gets time for a re-election, well, then they bring the economy up. Now, the worst thing in the world that I think America has politically is the president that can't go for re-election. When this president gets in their second term, they do whatever the heck they want. They break all their promises. They don't care about the economy except for the rich and famous. And they're just expressing what pieces of doo-doo they are, you know? They're just junk. They're Satan bots, always. And that's the lowest form of a human being that you could have, because they lie, cheat, steal, stab people in the back. They're horrible people. You can't live with them. They're terrible. They're the reason why the world's such a horrible place for these 2,000 years of punishment. Because they listen to Satan. he becomes their father and they do the things he does. So I'm going to put a prayer up for Israel to have another prime minister and not a leader and not a Satan bot. Remember, we're still in recompenses, and God's not happy with these people. They're getting their retribution, okay? They don't know it. They're too stupid to figure it out. All right. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for Israel to have leaders that are non-Satan bots, that serve you. And you could do anything. Your hand's not so short it can't deliver. So I submit this prayer to you. Be it the two witnesses, wonderful. Be it not the two witnesses, some other people before the two witnesses, wonderful too. But I just pray you end this reign of torment coming from this Satan bot Prime Minister of Israel. It's been this way since 48. And I pray you just end it, okay? And then Israel can be out from having the yoke tied around their neck from within the country, from their own leaders. And I pray all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you, as believers, can agree with this. And even if it's a video, you can agree with it, okay? And let's see what happens, because this is just getting to be sick. Netanyahu running with Trump, two Satan bots that basically want to wreck the world or run the world or whatever those jerks think they're going to do. It's a joke, and it's sickening already, you know? It's just sickening. It's an abomination for me to look at them and many other people that know what they're looking at. Okay, a prayer request for AZ, Alpha Zebra, AZ. My Heavenly Father, I pray for AZ who's in pain, and I pray for healing of a lung and alleviation of pain. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay, and you can agree with that as a believer. Next, I have a prayer for DJ, Delta Jennifer. DJ, Delta Jennifer. The prayer is to break marijuana addiction and function like a normal person. So the prayer for DJ Delta Jack is for this person to get off the marijuana, end the marijuana addiction, and begin to function like a regular person. Okay. And also to know the Lord for DJ and B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with that as a believer. Let me erase some of this stuff so I know I did it. Okay, I got to shut the heat down. It's way too strong. Okay. Now, this you're going to find, I'm pretty sure, in the order of fascinating. We're talking about sanctioned oil tankers that are fleeing Venezuela in defiance of the U.S. blockade. The ships are using deceptive tactics as part of a seemingly coordinated attempt to bypass American naval forces in the region. So they're working around the back of the Navy, the U.S. Navy. Okay, we'll call this, they're calling it the Dark Fleet. And these individual boats or vessels have flags. And we're going to have a list for you to start with of how many of these vessels different nations are using to just bypass Venezuela alone. This is not taking into account Russia or Iran. And this should show you rather openly that Trump's sanctions are not taken seriously by these people. Russia, 192 such vessels. Panama, you know, the Panama Canal people, right? 182 vessels. Cameroon, 114, that's in Africa. Iran, 98 vessels. Sierra Leone, 97. Comoros, 65 vessels. Gambia, Africa, again, 32 vessels. Curacao, 61. Where is that? Is that the Caribbean or off Africa? I can't remember. I think the Caribbean. Guinea, 651 vessels, I think. That's South America. Guyana, that's Africa, 49 vessels. Palau, P-A-L-A-U, 45 vessels. Okay. Now we got Oman, 37 vessels. Barbados, 36 vessels. Hong Kong, 33. Liberia, 27. Aruba, 26. That's Caribbean. Marshall Islands, it's kind of out in the Pacific somewhere, I think. 26 vessels. Benin, 24 vessels. Cook Islands, 19. North Korea, 16 vessels. So that's Maduro's oil trade. And it sure is a lot of vessels, isn't it? Now we're going to talk not in terms of how many vessels, but we're going to talk in terms of how many barrels of oil has been carried by these vessels during the past year, 365-day year. And we get the following top 10 list. This is the year 2025. Shipments from Iran to China. Okay, so this is extending beyond just Venezuela. Okay, this is last year. There was. This will just, you won't believe this. 1,600,000 barrels a day. Russia to India, 969,000 barrels a day. That's Russia to India. Russia to China, 894,000 barrels a day. Venezuela to China, 601,000 barrels a day. Russia going to unknown various destinations, 245,000 barrels a day. Iran to the UAE, 118,000 barrels a day. So the UAE is turning anti-America, I would say, based on this and it being a member of BRICS. You know, it's pretty obvious, right? Russia to Turkey, 111,000 barrels a day. So, you know, he breaks the NATO treaty and he's in NATO. I think he's not supposed to do this, but I guess he doesn't care. Saudi Arabia to China, 80,000 barrels a day. Russia to Syria, 55,000 barrels a day. And Kazakhstan to India, 50,000 barrels a day. I was rounding this off. Now, let's find out on average how many barrels does an oil tanker carry. This will give us some perspective as to how many ships are really. So, typical capacity of oil ships in barrels of oil. The Aramax is a tanker type. It does half a million to 750,000 barrels a day. The Suez Max does 1,000,000 barrels a day. The VLCC, very large crude carrier, does 1.8 to 2.2 million barrels a day. The ULCC, ultra large crude carrier, gets 3 to 4 million barrels a day. So you can see that these numbers are easy to understand. Now it's not as if they're sending, 28 ships out at the same time or anything like that, Okay. So I thought that you would see that as, kind of helpful. It opens up the door for you to understand how ineffective Trump and his sanctions really are when it comes to oil. They're not effective at all. I think it gives the seller of the oil an opportunity to raise prices using the sanctions as an example. So I don't know what, maybe they get an extra $5 or $6 a barrel or something like that. They're not going to get an extra $20, $30, nothing like that. So when Trump starts screaming sanctions, you can see how foolish it is. And you should also understand that, sanctions and dropping bombs and missiles and explosive drones is, massively different. Smotrich, this is something I didn't think I'd see. That's our guy, the economic minister, the far right guy. And he says that down on call for violence against Supreme Court President, Smotrich refused to apologize for calling the Supreme Court President a violent, ruthless megalomaniac. Justice Isaac Amit, I guess that's the guy they're going after, said the remarks have, that sun, have crossed a red line, and that they intended to undermine the judicial system as a whole. Now, they got a new bill, not a law, a bill, a proposed law in the Knesset, that's our Congress, that runs along the lines of stating that any, administration, in other words, that has a coalition, can put their own attorney general into office. And that's because Netanyahu's trying to get rid of this attorney general, who is the only people we have putting checks and balances against Netanyahu, like saying he could stay in office forever or something like that, and just go to full dictatorship and punish the country even worse. Is the Supreme Court and the Attorney General. They're the only checks and balances against his dog. This bum has 1.5 million people living in food insecurity in Israel. This bum sits there and Netanyahu says, you're going to have to pay for the rubbish removal out of Gaza. And we're not even getting the land to be ours again. And this piece of dirt, it just agrees with Trump. Says, yeah, okay, that's could be $100 or $200 billion that we got to pay while we got 1.5 million people with food insecurity, and who started the war to start with. So he's got us paying war reparations to Gaza when they started the war and massacred people. Do you see? Are you understanding how, number one, how blind the Israeli people are to him? And it's a sad day, but it's true. Nobody in Israel in the news talks like this. You think the TV stations get up there and say that what I just said? No, they're afraid. And he just doesn't care about us. And I think it's worse than that. I think he wants us to be miserable, so we leave Israel, which is Satan's agenda. I got to get my water bottle, guys. I left it. I'll be a couple of seconds. So we'll keep dumping the spiritual warfare on him. The state of the art now with Netanyahu is he's very scared about losing on a vote of no confidence. But if we get, like, the standard replacement is Naftali Bennett, promise breaker, he's not as bad as Netanyahu. When he was in for about a year, big promise breaker. But I noticed a difference in the government. Things got better. Let me give you another case in point about Netanyahu. It's the only place for Christians to live safely in the Middle East, right? He says that. But not for Jewish Christians, not for Messianic Jews. No, he doesn't tell you that. And do any of the rotten churches ever speak up against what he does? No, they don't want the Messianic Jews here either. They send people here that are not Israeli, not Jewish, to take over social media and get the money to keep it away from the Messianic Jews. I tell you this as the truth. Messianic Jews can't make Aliyah. They could give them lists of all their Jewish ancestors, and the Supreme Court decisions say they have to be allowed to come to Israel like any other Jew. Yet, under this piece of garbage, Netanyahu, he brought this in, that piece of vermin. Every time they make Aliyah, because of this piece of trash, Netanyahu, they're asked if they now or ever at any one time believed in Jesus or Yeshua. If they say yes, the application process stops and they're immediately denied. Oh, this is the safest place for Christians in Israel. What a stinking liar. What a stinking liar. That's not true. He discriminates against Jewish believers. Do the churches ever lift a finger to stop that? Never. Tell me the churches like Israel. They never pick up a finger. They never do anything. Huckabee doesn't do anything about it. He's a church guy. None of them do. But how can the people believe this? I don't understand how dumb they are. He is so bad. And I think he hates Israel now. This is my opinion. Because they're trying to get him criminally prosecuted. And I think he's perplexed. He can't stand it. Because they want to put the great Netanyahu in jail. They don't appreciate me. That's what he's probably thinking, in my opinion. Well, I don't appreciate him. And I am quite aware of, in my opinion, what he's capable of, what he has been doing. You know, he was one of the politicians advocating to give Gaza back to the Muslim residents, I think, what was it, 2006, 2008, whatever it was, right? He was in favor of that, and the people still vote him in. And he doesn't care. I mean, he doesn't ask Trump to give it back to Israel. Satan will give it at him. He didn't want to do that. And because he, in my opinion, because he wants the support of Trump to try to get him out of his criminal cases, Trump says, yeah, you pay the war reparations to pull the trash out, the debris. And he just agrees to it. Does he go back and hold a referendum with the people? No, the people don't run him. They're just dumb enough to vote for him. Does he go back to the Knesset and take a vote on it? No. Netanyahu Caesar, that's what he wants to be. So he's going after the AG because he wants his criminal cases suppressed. And, you know, the people of Israel got to understand they're going to have a mean, rotten, evil dictator. Okay? If this happens. Okay. Trump on Air Force One on Sunday gave a talk to the reporters on the plane with him about Venezuela, Russia, Ukraine, and Greenland, and I'll go through what he said. On Greenland, he said, we'll worry about Greenland in about 2 months, which could mean 12. Let's talk about Greenland in 20 days. Well, and Denmark is going nuts about, the possibility of losing Greenland. Now, are these people going to, join America or whatever the heck he has in mind for Greenland? I don't know. I don't know. Okay. What Trump actually said. Trump made remarks in a single press meeting on the Air Force One. They do that so they could, instead of the time being wasted by just sitting on a plane, they can, fly the press with him and he can give press conferences on the plane. He was flying back to Washington after being in Mar-a-Lago in Florida for his holidays. He did talk about a second strike on Venezuela. And he said, we were prepared to do a second strike. Then the reporter says, is that off the table now? And Trump says it's not off the table. If they don't behave, we'll do a second strike. Reporter says, you said that the Venezuela vice president, fate will be the same as Maduro, if not worse. Trump says, worse, much worse. Reporter, so you communicated with her. Now, the vice president of Venezuela, as of today, or perhaps yesterday, is now the acting president of Venezuela and was so sworn in. Acting president. So they're still treating Maduro as the real president. She is, okay? So he said, are you communicating with her by phone? Asking Trump. Trump says, not me, but my people, and consider that the same thing. Reporter, can you clarify your position on Delcy Rodriguez? That's the new from vice president to acting president. I'm not obliged to report to you. I'll just say that her situation might be even worse than Maduro's. And Maduro surrendered immediately. Now, that's such a misrepresentation. Special forces barge in and got rifles pointed at him. He puts his hands up, don't shoot. Yeah, so what's the alternative to that? He attacks the special forces and they shoot him, And then Trump says, and he did the right thing by surrendering. We acted so quickly and effectively and harshly, very harshly. That's why he just immediately raised his hands and surrendered. I mean, this narrative is so ridiculous. See, they're used to keeping the people in the dark and keeping the people dumbed down. And they get away with slinging the bull like this and telling the people nonsense, you know? See, he considers you peons that are not Satan bots, and you're worthless people and stupid as the day is long. Why you even go to Satan's churches, you know? And that's how he views. But I guarantee you, he doesn't view people like us that way. Okay, Cuba is ready to fall. This is Trump. Now, is this true? Likely it is true. They got all their money from Venezuela. It's going down. It's a good, valid point. Reporter, are you considering U.S. action in Cuba? Trump, I just think it is going to fall. It is going down for the count. You ever watch a fight? They go down for the count. Cuba looks like it is going down. Well, so he never said he's going to invade it, did he? He just said it's going to go down because they were getting all the money from Venezuela, and now that's over, so their economy's going to crumble, which could mean people hit the streets and protests. Likely would. And then you could rest assured the CIA will be there and encouraging protests, burning cars, police stations, a standard routine, you know. Then they come in and help them get a free election, put somebody very friendly with the U.S. in charge. And then you'll be able to buy Cuban cigars in America. The only country that doesn't allow Cuban cigars is America. But let me tell you what Cuba has that's better than the cigars. Except the cigars are one thing. They have Cuban coffee. And oh, it is beautiful coffee. It's really good. I don't use alcohol, but Cuban rum is supposed to be good too. So if your ambition is to be like a pirate and drink rum out of a tankard or something, well, it might help for you. Okay, Mexico. You have to do something with Mexico. Mexico has to get their act together because they're pouring through Mexico. That means to America, I guess. And we're going to have to do something. We'd love Mexico to do it. They're capable of doing it. It could be drug trade too. But unfortunately, the cartels are very strong in Mexico. He's not telling the truth. The truth is the cartels are very strong in Mexico, but they are the government. That's what he didn't tell you. Colombia. Not the District of Columbia, the whore that they named the capital of America after. This is the nation of Colombia. Is also very sick. And at the helm, there is a sick man who likes to smuggle cocaine and sell it in the USA. And let me note that he won't be able to do this for long. What do you mean by not for long, Trump? I mean exactly that, not for long. Well, not for long could be 36 months, it could be 3 weeks. There's no answer. He has a cocaine production there, but he won't be able to do this for long. Reporter, are you thinking at an operation by American forces? Trump says, as to as far as I'm concerned, that sounds good. And you know why? Because he's killing lots of people. A statement like that means Colombia is on his shopping list. Now, what you need to also know is Colombia just moved 30,000 troops to the border, and I mean in the last like 2, 3 days, to the border they have with Venezuela. So that's not going to help them because it's not, it will in a way, but only if Trump decides to invade Colombia, which he's not going to do. That's probably going to be 250,000 soldiers or something. He's not going to do that. If Iran starts killing, now it's on Iran. If Iran starts killing people as it did in the past, I believe the United States will hit it hard. Well, he is the United States. So this is very, very, very critical here. What Trump is telling Iran is at different times, he's saying, if you're going to shoot unarmed protesters, we're going to intervene with the military. And that basically means, Netanyahu's going to say, sure, I'll bomb Iran. I don't give a crap if they bomb Israel and costs Israel $50 billion again and kills people. What should I care for, If there is no more Israel, then I don't have a criminal case, do I, Donald? Well, no, Benji, I guess you don't, Uh, you know, if, an abomination like Trump, like Netanyahu, if he sees the curtain falling and he's going to die in jail, he may try to do something to destroy the government of Israel, like foreign nation invade us or something. Then he just calls Trump up and says, give me safe asylum and let Israel fall. So I believe now the reason you're getting all this strange reaction from Iran, in other words, a very mild reaction from a real pig dictatorship, uh, is because they're afraid of Trump either doing it himself or telling Netanyahu to do it, or the both of them do it. And he's scared. Iran is scared. That's why he's been talking about making preparations to go to Russia. He's scared. He knows that Trump's best move would be to arrest him and then just drag him back to America with war crimes and put him on trial and hang him or something like that. But does Trump really want to hang Khomeini and watch what the rest of the world does? The Muslim world? No, I don't know. He might. He might try to put the fear of Trump in them. I don't know. I don't know what the jerk's going to do. But right now, Iran's rather fearful of what to do with the protesters. Now, protesters with guns that get into gunfights with the IRGC in Iran, uh, that's not what Trump threatened them about. He threatened them about unarmed protesters trying to exercise their rights and protest the government. So Trump knows that if you let these protesters go long enough, based on the way it's going, they're going to overthrow the government, right? Okay. So he threatens Iran and says, you shut up and suck it up unless they're shooting, or I'm going to come in and drop bombs. Now, they don't probably believe Trump will drop bombs or a lot of bombs, but they know that Netanyahu will. They also know Netanyahu wouldn't take him alive. He'd do a targeted assassination on him. Greenland. This is what Trump said. This is very interesting. We need Greenland for national security, not because of minerals and resources. He didn't say oil or liquid natural gas. He said minerals or resources. Well, resources could be implied to be oil, I suppose. We have a huge number of mineral deposits, oil, and everything else ourselves. We have more than any other country, I don't know if that's true, in the world, probably. Adding it all together, we need Greenland for national security. And if you look at it and if you look at it up and down its coast, you can see Russian and Chinese ships everywhere. Trump, you know what Denmark did recently to boost up security off Greenland. They added one more dog sled. It's true, they thought that was a great move. Well, I don't want to talk about Greenland. Let's talk about Venezuela, Russia, Ukraine, and we'll take care of Greenland in about 2 months. Let's talk about Greenland in 20 days. So he's already got an agenda to take out Greenland. Now, Denmark has no ability to do anything in terms of stopping an invasion. The only thing they can do is go diplomatic. That's it. They don't have other recourse. So I don't know what they're going to try to do other than diplomatic. I don't think they can. They could buy more dog sleds. So the analysis on this by the news is that the national security strategy that prioritizes hemispheric security and dismantling threats to the Monroe Doctrine 2.0, so it's Trump's version of the Monroe Doctrine, makes clear foreign interference in the Americas, in other words, interfering with America's foreign policies, won't be tolerated. This is very bad. And adversaries like Iran's proxies, including the Houthi terrorists, face relentless U.S. action. No, they don't. Trump's not going to give them relentless U.S. action. He's just going to tell Netanyahu to do it, and Netanyahu's just going to say, okay, I'll be your pit bull, don't worry. Hey, Donald, help get your pit bull out of jail. I don't want to go to jail. Help me. That kind of thing. Military strikes are not threats, but necessary enforcement of sovereignty as seen in the systematic neutralization of Houthi missile stockpiles under Trump's orders. It's still got missiles there. What are they talking about? Europe will basically do nothing. I think what he's really afraid of here is that the Russian-Chinese boats by Greenland have missile capability, and they can fire missiles at America, and the distance is not prohibitive for them to do so. So that's what's scaring them. Now, let's take a look at the different countries Trump is picking on right now while going after. Okay, do they have oil and liquid natural gas? Venezuela, yes. The largest amount of oil of any nation in the world, including Saudi Arabia. Cuba, yeah, they got some, but it's very moderate. They're not a player. Iran, yeah, they're a big player. Mexico, solid medium player. Colombia, light medium. Denmark, minimal. So Trump's behavior is basically oil. The Greenlands, now they don't have a lot of oil. They have maybe a lot of oil, but it's not. That could likely be security. It really could. Okay. After more than 2 years at war with 7 enemies we had to be attacking, this is how they're building it up to the Israeli public. They're trying to make Netanyahu look like he's a nice guy trying to help them. Nonsense. So what's going on? Inflation is declining. Yes, my wife's telling me the prices in the supermarkets are declining. Okay. Wages are rising. I don't know, but it's probably true. Job vacancies are increasing. That's probably true. Labor force participation and employment rates are at record levels. Okay. High-tech capital rising is increasing. These are the startups. It's very, very true in a big way, too. Tax revenues are high. Well, yeah, that's because they're bleeding the people. That's a stupid comment. Credit card spending is rising. That's another stupid statement. That means that people don't have enough money, but they have enough confidence in the economy to go into debt. That's a dumb statement. Exports are increasing. True. Housing prices are falling. Yeah, but they're still way out there. Israeli government bonds are trading at lower yields than U.S. bonds. So that, in plain English, that means is they're paying lower interest than the U.S. bonds, but people are still buying them. Probably Jews mostly, but it is what it is. I believe it to be true. The Tel Aviv Stock Exchange is delivering record performance. Why? Because the prime minister's election is scheduled for October 27th. Yeah, so people think it's a good time to invest, but who benefits from that? The Satan bots that own the companies that are trading on the exchange. You think there's non-Satan bot owners of these countries? I think they're 99.9% Satan bot owned, if not 100%. That's my opinion on that. See, what I just broke down for you, unfortunately, the Israeli people don't know about. That's really sad. I wish they did. But it's sad they don't have the light on. They're not getting really what's going on. The media here doesn't play straight with them at all. Partial truths, hold back information. They're not really doing a good job about it. Okay. Now, this is something you might all want to pay attention to. There's a movie made about October 7th. I don't know if it's any good or any bad yet. I really don't know. Netanyahu and the Israeli government are not talking about it, so it's probably something they don't want portrayed. It's called 12 Hours in or on October. So it's being called 12 Hours in October. Okay. That's the October 7th massacre, but it doesn't state October 7th in the title. The streaming services like Apple TV, Prime, Uh, I don't know, quite a few of them. The ones that basically charge for viewing most of their movies, not all of them. They call that pay-per-view. They've got it out starting today, so it may not be out yet because today might be another hour or two or something like that if it's West Coast or something. But it'll be out within hours, and it's supposedly going out as a pay-per-view. So I want to explain this to you. The people in Israel are not going to be able to watch it, even if they want to buy the movie. Israelis cannot purchase movies online from YouTube, IMDb, Prime, Apple TV, all the others. Most of them won't let, because of copyright country by country rules they set up. They just block Israel out. In other words, it's probably cost them too much money to go to the owner of the movie and say, we want to get it for Israel. It's probably a loser because Israel's a small country, and how many people are going to get there? Are going to subscribe. So when you go to pay-per-view, even if you're willing to pay, they don't let you have it. So the Israeli people are not going to be able to see this. I understand it circulated in movie theaters briefly already, but I never heard it circulating in Israel. Maybe it did. I don't know. I don't think so. So it's called 12 Hours in October, if you're interested. I have no idea if it's going to be a whitewash or if it's going to be good. I have a feeling it's against anything Netanyahu likes, so it might be good. If Netanyahu likes it, it's lying and deceiving. Okay. The Iranian currency now closed at a brand new high, 1.45 million Iranian rials to $1. So it's almost 1.5. So this is a joke. Their economy is a joke. I mean, it's like the Roadrunners running the economy. This is beyond the Three Stooges or Laurel and Hardy or anything like that, or Abbott and Costello. This is Roadrunner or Donald Duck running it. Yesterday, my wife gave me some really big pieces of meat that came on a long bone, curved, and it was up here, the meat. So I thought they were tomahawks. So she put them on the grill and put some sauce on them, and they were delicious. So I came back and I said, what should I do with the bones? You want me to save them and give them to the dogs? She said, yes. And then I said, well, these tomahawks, because the meat was a little funny, but it had that perfectly, shaped much like a tomahawk, big thing. So she starts laughing. I said, what's wrong? She says, no, they're duck. So I said, duck, that big? She said, yeah, they're big duck. I said, I never had such a big duck before. So I said, I don't think we should give the bones to the dogs because they might break open and they could get hurt with the bones. So she said she was going to use them in her bone broth. I can't stand the taste of bone broth. I bought the dehydrated bone broth. Oh, I can't eat it. She makes bone broth. I can't eat it. To me, it's nauseating, disgusting. The taste. Oh. So the Iranians are now coming out. They're so stupid. They said they're coming out, they're announcing for like chicken and various meats, I guess some other things too, that the prices are about to go up drastically but the Iranian government is going to come to your aid, and we're giving you so many Iranian currency units, whatever they call it, not real, something else, every month for the next 4 months. So let me show you what a moron does, where the people in the streets are rioting and burning things and shooting. They want to, calm the people down, right? So they came out with a certain amount of currency they're going to give everybody every month. All right. Let me tell you what that value of their currency is in US dollars. $7. So they're going to give each of their people $7 a month for 4 months. This is something Abbott and Costello wouldn't do. The Three Stooges wouldn't do this. Okay? This is something like Roadrunner would do it, it's so stupid. I guess, when you eat a lot of tossed salad, you get stupid. Due to a change in government subsidies in the coming weeks, basic products in Iran, such as chicken, eggs, oil, and more, will experience a price increase of 20 to 30%. And as compensation, the Iranian government will grant coupons to Iranian citizens worth 1 million toman per citizen per month for 4 months. The value of this benefit being given monthly for 4 months is $7 per citizen per month for 4 months. Yeah, and the price of food goes up 20 to 30%. This is. I hope some of you know what Roadrunner cartoons are. This is a cartoon. Now we'll look at Prime Minister Netanyahu, transactional piece of garbage speech in the Knesset as reported by prominent Arab channels. I got a good prayer. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, Yehovah, I come to you now and I pray for all the leaders of all the countries and governments, local, province, state, or national, and the heads of the big corporations that are representing themselves to be one thing and dressing as if they're the other thing, and the thing being what they were born as. And I pray that these people start getting revealed often, frequently, and across the world fairly soon, Lord, as soon as you can, that they get revealed as what they are. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and as a believer, you can agree with that. Okay. President Trump emphasizes his commitment to disarming Hamas. What a bogus statement. He's committed to disarming Hamas, but he won't do it, and he lets the deadlines expire. So why doesn't he say, while Trump verbally says he's committed to disarming Hamas, he won't do it? That would be a truthful statement. Is Netanyahu's statement a lie? No, it's just deceptive. It's not a lie. If we are attacked by Iran, there will be serious consequences for Iran. Well, that's saying nothing. Trump and I will not allow Iran to renew its nuclear program to enrich uranium or to restore ballistic missile program. Well, do I think this talking is good? Oh, yes. But talk is cheap. Let's see some action. Now he goes on, Trump and I, this is the theme of his speech, Trump and I, uh, will not allow Iran to renew its nuclear program to enrich uranium or to restore ballistic missile. Yeah, Trump and I, as if Trump ever does something, you know. We support the Trump administration's actions in Venezuela. See, taking the special forces and doing a targeted assassination, sure, Trump would do that. Now, instead of a targeted assassination, a targeted kidnapping. It's not the same thing, but it's similar. Yeah, sure, he'll do that. An actual war? No, I don't think he'll do it. I think he's too scared. But the other countries are scared of him. They're not sure what he'll do, see? But they do know that if he unleashes Israel, Israel will go after them. The protests in Iran are expanding, and Israel stands alongside the Iranian people in their just struggle for freedom. That's good. I have to admit that's a good thing. Because the people are not the mullahs, you know. I spoke, yeah, the people, if the people of Iran, the regular people, got control with a president like the Shah's son, this is never going to happen because, or if it did, a very brief period of time, because it contradicts prophecy. But what would their position be towards Israel? Well, they would open trade with Israel, restore nations, non-visa passports. But Israel is in no position to give Iranians non-visa passports. But they'd let Israelis come in that way, and you know, that sort of thing. But you're not going to see that happen. It's too dangerous right now. It may be a while later you would, but it would be a while, like a year or two after the country got taken over. But prophetic times not allowing for that. This is Netanyahu talking. I spoke at length with President Trump about the body of the latest hostage from Gaza. We are committed to returning his body and are working towards that goal now. And Trump is saying no rebuilding Gaza till that guy comes back. Well, it used to be no rebuilding Gaza till you disarm. Now he's going to rebuild part of Gaza. The Hamas has very little fear of Trump. So Colombia, I think I told you, fortified their border with Venezuela with 30,000 soldiers. It's not really going to interfere with Trump's plans, but that's what they did. Let me give you the highs on gold, silver, and crude oil that were they're a couple hours old. Gold performing nicely. Give it up for gold. Didn't break a new record, but it's recovering very nice. $4,470 an ounce. Very good gold. Keep up. Silver rebounding nicely at $79.09. Keep it up, silver. And crude oil at $58.32. Trump, you see, I was told once, do I know if this is really true? I don't. I never messed with the oil too much, like I never studied it much or put a lot of energy into it or anything like that. But I was told that Russia needs $40 a barrel to make anything on oil. Could this really be true? I don't know. Maybe. I really don't know. It sounds a little high, but it could be. It could be. So I don't know. So if Trump gets control of more oil, like what puts it out of business and nobody has it, with Venezuela and well, he's going to grab it in Venezuela, but with Iran, it's going to turn out nobody has it. Okay, that's um, it just evolves into Trump having a greater percentage. So in other words, he picks up the Venezuela oil and the Iranian oil nobody has because Iran is vacated as per Jeremiah 49. So then the percentage of oil that Trump is controlling would be a greater percentage. That's so when he's controlling a lot of oil, he can push oil down easily to $50 a barrel, which is going to hurt other countries. Or he could leave it alone or not leave it alone. I don't know what he's going to do. I think he just wants to keep the oil out of bricks. That's my hunch, is he wants to keep the oil out of bricks. So they can't dominate the oil, and they could do a lot of things. One thing is they could raise prices. Another thing they can do is cut back production. The net effect of that is to raise prices. So they could, to be cute, and they like to do this, they cut prices. They can raise prices and cut production at the same time. And the bricks people can get, like they could raise prices by $27, and the brick people don't have to pay that $27, or they can reduce oil production, but keep the oil production running for the people in bricks, and the rest of the people can't get enough oil, so they don't even mess with the prices. They just reduce the supply, and then the market will raise the prices. And they cripple the West. That's their goal, but it hasn't been achieved. And they keep getting into disagreement with, posting collateral and stuff. So it's an interesting situation. And let me take a look at the live stream, see if we got questions there or something. And then we'll get into some translations. I don't vote. If you vote, you're a partaker in the evil they do. So I'm not a voter. The tablet on? Yeah, it's on. It's on. You can turn it upside down or whatever. It doesn't matter. In Jeremiah 49, you read prophecies about Elam, E-L-A-M, and Elam is considered to be Iraq, Iran, and possibly parts of Syria. Let's see. All right. Well, somebody just blew something up. Did you hear it? Did you guys hear that? I'll watch the chat and see if you heard that. That was an explosion, but it was a long explosion. I'm confused what that is. I didn't hear any missiles come in, and we didn't get any red alerts, so it could have been the IDF testing something, or it might have been a construction explosion. It didn't sound like a weapon. Weapons don't sound that way. No, maybe you didn't hear it. It was about 4 or 5 second explosion, which is very long. Beulah's not happy. She's going to bark at it and make the bad explosions go away. Well, she's acting the way dogs are supposed to act. That's how they act. They're all that way. All right. Let's go and look at the Old Testament put into Japanese and then translated into more of a literal English. So let's get on that. So we'll go take oldest Japanese Old Testament translation and put Daniel 9 verse 24 and Zechariah 12 6 and 10 into English, into literal English. Okay, this ought to be interesting. So the Japanese Old Testament would have been a translation probably from Hebrew, Latin, Greek, whatever, into Japanese, and now we're going to take it from Japanese into English and use a few verses that I like to detect error and go from there. This particular AI is a very thorough one, and it works quite a bit slower than the other ones, which are also good. This is probably going to take 60 to 90 seconds to get an answer. I could change it to give me shorter answers, but I'd rather see it dig deep. I mean, it's digging. It's showing me how it's digging all over the internet. I mean, it's really digging. I'm having it find the oldest Japanese version that it can. That's time consuming because it's running around all over the internet trying to figure out what that one is, what that version is. I don't know what the name of it is. That it found the site inglobible.jp. It's found a number of sites. It's, I'm sure, gone probably in the hundreds on sites, visiting sites. Um, so it's working with an 1886 Bible. That's dangerously recent. You're the oldest Japanese translation of the Old Testament. See, it's nothing more than a translation. Is in the Meiji Genyaku, blah, blah, I don't read Japanese. Okay, let's see. Oh, I did Daniel 8:24, not 9. Okay, let's go to Zechariah 12:6. And it's showing me the Japanese, and there's a zero chance of me reading that to you, I can assure you. It's talking now Zechariah 12:6, literal English. On that day, the leaders of Judah make like a fire basin under firewood. So far, so good. Also, like a torch in midst of sheaves. So good. Make they right and left all peoples devour, exhaust. Okay, that's still good. And yet Jerusalem still its place in Jerusalem securely dwell. That's a very good final translation to that verse. Very good, very good. It's not that Jerusalem gets destroyed and then the people come back. It remains. So that is actually a very nice, clean translation. Let's go to verse 10. It gives me the Japanese text, which I assure you I'm not reading. I couldn't. Literal English. I upon house of David and upon inhabitants of Jerusalem grace and supplication. Not exactly, because this is pouring out the spirit of grace and supplication. So it's implied, I think, in the Japanese language. Oh no, it says it now, and then it says supplication, spirit poured, spirit pour. Then it goes on to say, they that pierced one gaze at only begotten son. Nah, it's all screwed up. You know, it's they look upon the one they pierced like an only begotten son. It's wrong. It's wrong. The chances are the newer Japanese translations are probably incorrect too. Let's try. Let me correct this. I'll just say sorry, Daniel. You don't need to say sorry. Okay, Daniel 8:24. Daniel 8:24. Typo. Redo using Daniel. Oops. Daniel. 9:24. What the heck? It comes out 25. 20. There it is. All right, let's try that. Shouldn't take long. This one will take a little bit longer, that's all, not much. It's getting it up now. No, not yet. I don't know why it's continuing to check all over the place, but it still is. So we'll wait it out a little bit. The next one I'll do on a faster AI. I got 3 AIs I can use. It's again an 1886 thing. It's a translation of the prophets. It's error. It reads like this in English, Daniel 9:24. Thy people and thy holy city for 70 weeks determined. Now the word weeks is all completely wrong. Okay, let's close this and get a fast one, and we'll do Korean. Oops. All right, I think I got it set up here. And we'll use the same verses. Why not? Okay, let's get it. This has got to go find the, here it is. This came in fast. So this is using a 1911 Korean revised version. See, this one is really fast. The name of it is in Korean, which I couldn't help you with. Okay, here we go. It's wrong on Daniel 9:24. It says 77s. That's error. Zechariah 12:6. In that day, I will make the clans of Judah complete error. That's the tribes of Judah. So it's saying the tribes of Judah, in other words, like all the people that are here in Israel now are going to be the ones doing this. No, no, no. It's the judges. It's not it. And 12 verse 10. I will pour out upon the house of David and the no, and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem, spirit of grace and supplications. They will look to me. No, look to me is a very soft way of saying they will look upon me or look at me. No, no. They see the risen Christ. No. So these, I don't know how we could do any better with these because the oldest versions are so recent. It's going to be churchianity garbage. I don't know what else we can look at that might actually go back in time. Chinese, but I don't think we'll have much to go with. But we can do it. Okay. So let's do a run. Take oldest Chinese Old Testament. Beulah was locked up inside a lot. We're using the backyard where there's more concrete. Of course, we had a lot of mud in the front yard, so she's got all that pent up energy. Okay, we gotta get this fixed. Literal English for Daniel 9. Oops, 9:24. Got that. Oh, now I got it. No. And Zechariah 12, 6, and 10. Okay, I don't know what'll happen. Let's find out. Never did Chinese before. I don't have any idea. 1854. I expect it'll be bad. Churchianity missionaries probably went to China and spread the garbage. It's error, of course, 77. So, okay, let's just move into Zechariah then. In that day, I will make the clans of Judah. That's just garbage. All right, no love there. If any of you want to email me suggestions as to other languages to dig into, I'll be happy to do it. But it's not, going well with these more modern languages, Let me figure out let me ask you what Wycliffe Bible was translated from. Because the Masoretic text was not circulating till about 1500. The Wycliffe Bible was translated from primary sources, primarily the Latin Vulgate. How about that? Because the date on this is 1382 to 1395 was when it was done. The Latin Vulgate was done by this dude called Jerome in the 4th century. But we did use the Vulgate and we translated the old Vulgates already. I was just wondering what the Wycliffe Bible did, because the Masoretic text wasn't around. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll go to original Wycliffe. Whoops. And Zechariah 12. Six and 10. Okay, we'll look at it in English and see what it is. It might be different than the Wycliffe I have access to in my program here. 70 weeks. That's junk. Okay, it's bad. That's coming from the Catholic stuff, I guess. And let's go to Zechariah 12:6. In the day you shall put the dukes of Judah, that's like the, Duke of Earl. That's a boss, a leader, It is a form, what? It is a formace, not a furnace, a fornace. I don't know what that is. At her, no, at her among trees, and as a branch of her among hay, and Shulin, boy, that's nearly impossible to read. And does 12:10 get any easier? And you shall shed but on the house of David and on the dwellings of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of prefers, and they shall I guess, shall behold to me, whom they, behold to me, that's wrong. Who they pierced, no, who they, what? Perceiving. I'll give them the benefit of being pierced. Let me take a look at my eSword and put in, I don't know, we'll put in Daniel 9:24. I believe it's in here. I gotta go here. It may not be. No, it's in the other one I got. Okay, we got the other one. Let me open it. Where did it go? It's not here. See, I'm wondering if the one that the people are exposed to with Wycliffe mostly in, the different translations they got access to by various apps, if it's different from the actual text. And there it is. Okay. It's updating. That'll take a few seconds. There, it's done. Now why won't it open? There it goes. All right. So how do I find Wycliffe? It's on Wycliffe. Where in Wycliffe am I? So we'll go into Zechariah 6. Okay, how does it read? Oh, thing went in the wrong way. Okay, let's fix it. This is 1300s. All right, now I'm in Zechariah 6, and I want to be in Zechariah 12, you idiot. How do I get there? No, this isn't working. Why? I'm trying to figure out, I haven't used this thing in ages, how to change the chapters. Oh, I forgot. This you just rotate. Now it's, the heck am I? Keeps showing me I'm in chapter 8. Nine. Let's go all the way to 12. 13. All right. So that means 12 is right here. In that day, the Lord shall defend the dwellers of Jerusalem, and he that shall offend him shall be in that day as David, and the house of David shall be as of God, as the angel of the Lord in the SIYT and sit him. I don't know. Then we go into Zechariah 12. I don't think this is usable. And you shall held out on the house of David. So held, Helde, might be pour out, on the house of David, and on the dwellers of Jerusalem, the spirit of grace and of Preieers. It means supplications, but okay. And they shall behold to me. See, that's wrong. Whom they listen together, and they shall dwell him with wellen as on the biggest, no, bigiton, and they shall sorev on him as it won't for. I can't use this. Okay, it's not usable. You'd have to look every word up. And we did the original Latin, so there's not a lot of purpose in doing this because we did the Latin. We could look at the Tyndale. Let's see, that's 1500s. I gotta find it though. I think it's in here. No. All right, we can get it. We pull Tyndale for us, easy enough. Um, fix this. Oh, I can work from this, I think. Get me oldest original Tyndale Daniel. The only Bible I ever found that gets Daniel 9:24 right is called Smith's Bible, and that's a woman of means who self-published it, I believe, in the 1800s. The publisher houses never want to take anything and publish it that contradicts the general incorrect thematics that the churches purvey. They don't want that because then the churches will badmouth that book or Bible, and the publishing houses will eventually lose money if they stop not working with the churches and just publishing what the churches like. And let's see. The heck? Okay, I got that, but why? Isn't it going to load? I think something's wrong. Hold on. Let me copy and paste this so I don't have to go back and do it again. All right, I'll get rid of that. Oh, heck, I'm not going to reset that. Let's go get another one and do it. This one's a pretty fast one. Daniel 9:24. This is actually coming from Matthew's Bible, 1537. 70 weeks. Okay, garbage. Zechariah 12:6 from a 1537 Matthew's Bible. In that day will I make the dukes of Judah like a fire pan among the wood, and like a branch of fire in the sheaves, and they shall consume all the people round about them, both upon the right and upon the left, but it spells left, Lyfte. You see, it's not usable for most people. And Yerushalayim also, and then it says Shalbe. It means shall be. It's two words run into one. Shall be inhabited again, Agayne, in her own place. Inhabited again, remains still in her own place. That's erroneous. Zechariah 12:10 from 1537 Matthews. And upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem will I pour out the spirit of grace and compassion, and they shall look, Loke, Loki, but look upon, but the upon is spelled with a V, upon me, whom they have pierced, and they shall bewail him. And so that's not so bad. All right. So that's what we got. All right. Okay, let's see what's going on in the live stream. If I can see pictures and questions. Does people still believe in religion? Yeah. Something quoting Mark Twain. Well, you obviously don't. All right. So we had a good walk through the languages today. We'll keep doing that. All right, I'll get a prayer out for everybody that's a believer. And otherwise, too. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for all of the people that have the true gospel, the true believers, and me and my wife, and I pray that your peace, safety, I pray that we would all have your peace and safety and joy and comfort and good health, and we'd have more than adequate finances, and we would be strong in you and learn the word better. And I pray also for the peace of Jerusalem and our peace. And I pray that you would lift off of us any works of the unclean spirits and the unclean of the people serving the unclean spirits and the unclean spirits. Whatever those works are, lift them off us. Stop our being discriminated against and punished. Make us bold to spread the true gospel, and I pray you pour your spirit out on us and keep us happy, healthy, and whole, and joyful, and give us the faith and the strength not to want to give up or throw the towel in or anything like that, and that we keep fighting and we keep doing the spiritual warfare. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that if you're a believer. Now, giving up doesn't mean, oh, I'm going to start shooting heroin and rob banks. And so, no, giving up is you just stop. Oh, you'll still pray a little bit, you'll still read the Bible, but you just, these days are never going to end, and that's what Satan wants you to do. So you don't want to do what Satan wants you to do ever. You want to punish Satan for what he does. We don't want Satan winning. We want Satan losing. Okay, we don't want to see Satan be successful in anything. Okay, and one of the big problems we have, oh, my flashlight got turned on and it ran itself out. This is a nice little flashlight, but it ran out. I better let it cool off. I had some junk in my pocket pressed against it. So we don't want to ever let Satan get his way. That's what he's trying to do. So we got to keep the warfare, the spiritual warfare, pounding on Satan. And his most vulnerable point in the world is the governments, because everything else listens to the governments. So Satan makes sure he has control over every government, including the one in Israel, and that way he has control of the world. And he's afraid of end times, and he's afraid of fights, so he doesn't want any wars. So Trump is trying to figure out a way to take countries over without having a war. Wars are too dangerous. You never know what's going to happen. So Satan's rather afraid of that. So Trump is finding a way to wage war without waging war. He bluffs, he scares, he picks on countries that are weaker by far, maybe 40, 50 times weaker. And what's his motive? His motive is money. Oil is money. There used to be a TV show called Beverly Hillbillies about some hillbillies that all of a sudden found oil in their property. And the guy was out hunting and he missed shooting a rabbit or something like that, and the bullet hit the ground and the oil came up. A rather very unrealistic story. And then some oil people gave him many millions of dollars, probably gypping him, but, they might have gave him, $100 million when it was worth $400 million. And he didn't know any better. And then he moves to Beverly Hills and he buys a big mansion there. They filmed it with a real mansion. And the people that live next door or a few houses away from him is a guy named Drysdale who owns the Beverly Hills Bank, and he puts all his money in there. And it's a very funny show. It was done in the uh, in the '60s. Very funny. I was watching an old show on YouTube called Highway Patrol with Broderick Crawford, and I was shocked to realize that Broderick Crawford is transactional. If you get my drift, yeah. And that show was shot in the early '50s. And I mean, when you watch him run or walk, he walks very, very funny. And he doesn't exactly have a set of long arms. And he doesn't exactly have a ridge in his eyebrows, you know? Uh, and then I was watching Wyatt Earp on YouTube. What is its full name? The Tales of Wyatt Earp or something. This was, I think, the earlier '50s. And I saw a shot of you O'Brien, the Wyatt Earp guy, walking down the street with his boots on, and his foot was like this, right one leg, right in front of the other. And if you're a man, try walking like that and see if you fall down. And if you don't, you manage to stay up a few steps. Try it with cowboy boots on, with a 2.5 or 3 inch heel, like Wyatt Earp was doing, and you'll fall down. So this goes all the way back there, crazy stuff, TV didn't really get going. They had TVs like in the '40s, but the screens were like this, and they had big magnifying glasses in front of them sometimes, and sometimes they didn't. They were like iPad screens. Uh, the reception was basically an antenna or rabbit ears or something like that. If it rained or snowed or stormy outside, you didn't get much picture. And there was very few shows on TV. But around 1951, 52, TVs were getting up to 15, 17 inches, and they didn't have magnifying glasses, and the reception was better, and there was more to watch. And by 54 or so, um, 55, there was a pretty good amount of stuff on TV, and Wyatt Earp was in there someplace, I think, in the mid 50s, like 55, 56, 58, maybe. He probably ran 4 or 5 seasons, but back then a season was, sometimes 25 episodes. Today they do a lot of shows, and they do, it's a series, and they do 10 episodes a year. That's a season, but back then they'd have 20 something. Even sometimes it would approach 30. They took a break sometime in June after Memorial Day, which is May 31st. I think they were pretty much done for the summer, because a lot of schools let the kids out in May, usually May 10th or 15th, and they went back in August. And other places, the kids would get out of school June 30th. you know. So when the kids were out of school, what happens is the parents are going on vacation, so they don't get they don't keep reshooting new episodes in the summer. Back then, they didn't, because people were on vacation in the summer and they couldn't, watch on their tablet or their phone, of course. So they didn't even have cable TV. So they shut it off, and they did the reruns. So every week they would rerun that season that just ended. Uh, and they'd run it one a week usually, and So they got off, basically, 10 or 12 weeks off, the people that worked in the series. And if they were a very popular actor, that's when they would shoot movies and make themselves some big money. Working on the series didn't get him big money. A big name like maybe Wyatt Earp, O'Brien. I mean, if he was pulling 10 to 25,000 an episode, maybe at his peak, you know, nobody was getting $1 million for an episode. People weren't even getting $1 million for movies back then. They were getting maybe 50, 100,000, something like that. And the Hollywood stars back in the 50s and before, even in the early 60s or so, they were living in houses in Hollywood that were 3,000 square feet. They had a pool. Sometimes they had a tennis court, so they had an acre or something. And they didn't even have gates around the house. And they didn't have a whole slew of servants. They usually had a guy that took care of the grounds and different things, and he'd probably go home at night, and then they had a maid that would go home or live in the house. That was all they had. They didn't go out and have 25 or 50,000 square foot houses or anything like that. Now the studio owners and the big producers and the directors, they didn't often live in Beverly Hills. They lived, within 10 or 15 miles, more of a suburb. And they would have an estate. A lot of them would have a stable with horses, and, they had tennis courses, and they had a whole array they were much richer than the actors. They were keeping the money. And they had a whole array of, servants on their property. But I didn't think they went back in time that far with that kind of game they played back in the 50s. But it was very limited back in the 50s, and even in the 60s. There were not that many of them. Now they're probably at least 75 to 90% that way. All of them, all the shows, And it's probably been like that for at least 15, 20 years. All the James Bonds were that way, So it was weird, And they didn't know how to cover it. Bruce Lee walked the same way as Hugh O'Brien. That he was one. Yeah, same way. Bruce Lee, yeah. And they really got this thing going, I don't think you could have much of a career if you're not a guy walking with your feet exactly one front of the other, That's what the Satan requires to become rich and famous. That I don't want to get into all that, but it's. I was shocked to see Wyatt Earp back in the 50s that way. Now I don't know. I have to take a look at Steve McQueen, who played in the 50s, Wanted Dead or Alive, where he had a sawed-off rifle, something like the Rifleman, but the Rifleman had a full-size rifle. The Rifleman was huge. He was about 6'4" or 6'5", something like that. And he had the same type of footprint trail too. So, but he came later. He was in the 60s, the Rifleman. And that was a famous show. But the guy that played the Rifleman did a few shows. He did a few movies, but never really got going. That was his big break, and that was it. Once that show fell apart, it was gone. And the one that played the boy in the show. He's been dead for some years. He never got really too far. He stayed in show business. I can't remember how, but he never really got got too big about it. The interesting thing is Jethro in the Beverly Hillbillies. His father was a boxer, a Jewish boxer. This is a Jewish guy. He was a Jewish boxer, and I believe in the 30s. And he was a renowned boxer, and they made a movie about him. Who played him? The guy that played the gladiator, whatever that jerk's name is, he played him. Uh, and I've seen boxing films of that guy. He was a good fighter. He was a big, tall, strong guy. He was a pretty good fighter. Like his son Jethro was a big, tall guy. Jethro never really got anywhere. He made it for a few years in Beverly Hills as one of the Hillbillies, the son. And I don't know how many seasons it went, 3, 5, I don't know. It went a while. He made himself some money. I'm sure he didn't get very, very rich. And then he hung around Hollywood and Beverly Hills trying to get reestablished back again, but he never got anywhere. He was one of very many people in Hollywood that just caught a break and then went nowhere. In the 50s and 60s, when I was a kid unsaved, and I didn't know the Lord, I should say, and I was listening to the music on the radio, there was tons and tons of groups that were pretty good, and they had a hit, and they played that hit for 30, 40, 50 years, and they just had one popular song. There's a woman, I forgot the song. She was running around, as an old lady running around probably in the early 2000s, like 2005 or 8 or something like that, still doing concerts by herself, just singing that same song. She had a hit, I think it was around 58, 59. It was a big hit. And people, they would put her on the road, and people would go to watch these stars. The people were old, they were 50, 60 years old, and the performers were 50, 60 years old, you know? So they would go and relive their past, and they'd pay to go to the concert. And, some of the groups had, like 6 or 10 hits, like the ones that did The Lion Sleeps Tonight. They were hugely popular doing this probably up until around 2010 anyway, going around giving concerts, and people were still going, but they had a bunch of other hits too. So at least they could keep you entertained. But the people with the one hit, they would probably go in where there was, 6 or 8 groups performing because they just had their one hit. But this one woman, when she was finished performing, she was thanking the audience. She was old already. And she said, I've been making a living off this one hit all these years. Thank you. You know, she was a teenager and she just got in the right place at the right time. And she was the singer. I don't know if she still had her band with her. I don't think so. People really probably didn't know much about her band. And Angel Baby, that was the name of the song, Angel Baby. Yeah. And it just, it's a funny thing. They don't make a good living, doing that. They make a living. They can pay their house, buy a car every few years. They don't get really rich. When they go to town, they don't stay in a suite at the Waldorf. They get a regular hotel room. You know, they go to the Hilton and they get a regular room or something like that. And they don't go out for nice dinners. They'll go eat a regular or get a pizza or, go to Chinese food, something like that. They made money though, but not that much. All right, so my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I thank you for us getting together And I pray you keep everybody strong and motivated and not giving up and taking the fight to the enemy and spreading the gospel. And we pray that you would bring us together physically so Yeshua could be there amongst us and we can have a place to bring people that are new to the true gospel. And we pray all this to you, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that. And I'm going to go out. I think we probably ran over too much time. No, not that bad, 2.5 hours. My goal is to be able to do these things in an hour and a half. Now, you might be able to pray for me to get them down to an hour and a half. I find it hard. I like talking. I like doing it. So it's hard for me to run an hour and a half. But I'm out, guys. Thank you. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach.